Good to go. All right. So I shot a video yesterday. Didn't work out as well as I expected it to. Didn't like a whole lot of things wrong with that video. But we're going to kick today's video off the correct way. Basically, what I'm going to do is I'm going to shoot the video and then I'm going to do a voiceover, make my life 10 times easier. But I'm going to talk my way through it as I do it, so that way I don't have to forget where I'm at. Anyway, what we're going to do is we're going to work out today. We're doing chest and we're doing shoulders. So anterior, posterior, whatever you want to go with. I'm not wearing a shirt that you can see any kind of skin with, which is going to have to do for today. But I have a couple of core exercises that I like to do in the house. What I have here is, I'm going to take my phone out real quick. And what I'm going to do is take out the camera. Right. So what I've got next to me are weights, actual weights, and then what I have is a shopping bag, nice and easy. I'll pick that up in a minute, but I'll take a picture, show it to you guys. What I have is one shopping bag, one that we're using to go to stores nowadays, black, opening. You can use this as your weight if you don't have weights in the house, just a heads up. In an effort to conserve my energy, I will be using this little guy right here to kind of demonstrate the motion that I'll be doing before doing the exercise, just to give you a heads up. This is obviously a weight. What I'll do is I'll grab the bag. If you have household objects that have a little weight to them, you can throw them inside the bag, right? A little weight to it. Take it, tie the neck in a knot, or the handle, I should say. The handle is now in a knot, so what I can do is I can hold it a little bit more tightly, more astutely, if you will. Now, if I'm going to be doing shoulders, I usually start off with a raise to the side, nice and easy. What I'll do is I'll focus when I'm lifting the weight. I'm using this bag for right now. The same way I would be holding a weight, I'll hold this bag. I'll start down here. Usually, I do one at a time. For this exercise, I'll be doing two hands because I have two weights. It makes life a little bit easier for me to do it this way. But for beginners and people who are just learning how to do the exercise, I suggest using one hand just for the simple fact that you need to learn how to control the movement and where your hand placement needs to be when you're doing the actual exercise. That's crucial and key. You don't want to be doing something that hurts your shoulder, hurts your rotator cuff, or anything like that. You want to pay attention to the movement, make sure it's fluid, and make sure you're actually addressing the muscle group that you're trying to. That being said, what I like to do is I like to keep my hands in front when I do this exercise. You can keep the free hand that's not picking up any weight to your side, kind of for stability. You can separate your feet shoulder width apart, meaning your left foot is going to line up with your left shoulder, and your right foot is going to line up with your right shoulder. So shoulder width apart. Take your hand that has the weight, put it in front of you, maybe by about 6 or 7 inches away from your body, and then you're going to slowly lift with your elbow and shoulder up through the side. So really you're just using this hand to hold the weight, not to kind of secure the weight. You're just basically holding it lightly enough to keep the weight in your hand. So shoulder, elbow, up, and you want to move with a light enough weight. You want to make sure you can move your shoulder back and forth to find that comfortable place where the muscle is being addressed. So right here is about good for me, and I'll go there. I'll do that a few times, and you want to lift and hold for a second and drop back down. You don't want to just and also, the good thing about using the bag is that when you do things too fast, the bag is going to start flopping around and it's going to bang against your leg. You have no control. You know that you're losing control of your weight. Same thing goes for if you're using an actual weight. You don't want to just throw the weight around. You want to use it in a controlled manner. So up, down, up, down. You want to do that 12 times, and then you want to switch to the other side. Now, depending on how comfortable the muscle feels after you're done, you want to make sure that you're getting the right burn on the muscle. So if 12 feels like you can do another 30, then maybe you throw a little bit more weight inside of your bag so you have a little bit of extra. The goal here isn't to have to throw your body into it to get the weight up. You want to make sure that you can lift it comfortably You can feel it in the shoulder too, and you're feeling a burn after a couple reps because then you can really focus on the muscle attention. The other key thing when doing the exercise is when you get to a certain point with your weight and you're here, you almost want to feel like you're pulling. I'm going to show you here, pulling outward. Let me tap on my shoulder. So like you're pulling outward with your pinky and ring finger, if I get the focus. So almost here, you're going to turn up slightly. So when you come here, you're going to turn up slightly, so you're getting a real pull on the actual outside of the shoulder. I'm going to go through my sets now.
So once we get situated, right, I grab my weights, put them in front of me. Like I said, I will be doing 2, so as you can see, I'm just going to take over with the voiceover here and continue on with my exercise. You can see the elbows going up almost perpendicular to the floor when the elbows hit their peak. Also, you can see the weights kind of flipping outward once they hit their high point. That's what I'm referring to when I say turn out your pinky and ring finger when you get towards the top. So you're securing the weight, you come up, and when you hit that apex or the perpendicular part of your peak, your wrist kind of want to turn out a little bit, and you can feel that difference when you're using a lower weight right off the bat. You can basically play around with that. If you have one hand and you're holding your body like I mentioned before from the side, and you pick that arm up and then you roll that wrist out a little bit, you can see and feel the muscles moving. Also here you'll see that I'm doing a lateral raise, I should say, and I superset this because I'm in the house one and I want to get the burn going. You do not have to superset this. You can do all of the lateral raises that you want, your 4 sets, 5 sets at 12 reps or whatever you feel comfortable doing until the muscle is burning, and then your next exercise can be a front upright raise. Now, if you're gonna superset, the good thing to know is that it's going to put more strain on the muscle. You're going to get a burn a little bit faster. This is about a 40-minute workout, and that's with a 30 to 60-second interval. I'll get back into the upright raises after this, but you'll see me looking at my watch, and when I look down at my watch, I'm basically checking to see what my intervals are in between each set. So 30 seconds to 60 seconds. The shorter the time between sets, the more you're going to feel the burn within the muscle. You're not giving it time to rest. I will do one major rest before my last set because I want to burn out as much as I possibly can. But this is a little bit more experienced of a trick. You as a beginner, if you are a beginner or even if you're intermediate, should definitely feel comfortable with your weights before doing, these kind of intervals. And if you are comfortable, then go for it. So back to the upright row, what I'm doing is you should do these with 2 weights, 1 in each hand, whether you're using 2 bottles of water, you're using bands with handles underneath your feet, and you're doing an upright raise. This is an awkward exercise for most people. It used to be awkward for me until I learned how to do it. A lot of the time, it just doesn't feel natural because, who works in that motion? So you have to be cautious in doing the upright row. If you have to keep your hands further apart from one another. So as you can see when I'm doing it, they're about 3 inches away from each other, the weights. This is typically done with an easy bar or a curl bar or a flat bar, depending, with a wide grip. It is usually a wide grip. If you go closer, it hits a different or targets a different part of the shoulder. I would say if you're beginning, you want to start with a wider grip just to get comfortable with the exercise, and a light weight. Again, I'm checking the intervals on my time, and I'm going back. I believe this is my 3rd set. I might speed it up here just to give you a little bit of a heads up since we've already talked about these exercises. I'm going to run this down probably 5 sets, 12 reps a piece. Yeah, the last set is most likely when I'll stop and just kind of... So I'll pick up back here. So this is my last set. I'm going to take a little bit longer of a break, start to, mess around a little bit. It's getting hot, working up a sweat. This is a routine that is going to make you sweat if done correctly. So make sure that even if you're just learning it, that the next time you do it, if you follow tips correctly and you are in tune with your muscles, you're going to feel the burn. Most likely you're going to be sore the next day, as I would hope you would be. But this is my longest rest that I'm going to take, is this last set. I want to work the muscle enough and burn it enough properly so I take a little bit longer of a break. At this point, the muscle's already burning up because of my 30-second, 60-second intervals in between sets. But this last one, I want to make sure that it's still a controlled motion. I'm still going to get 12, and I'm also going to be able to do my upright row to the best of its ability. When I feel like I'm failing in doing the exercise, I will stop. I won't finish out reps just to get reps done. I work through injury. I have back issues. I have leg issues. I got ankle. I got a couple of issues. So I have to be very cautious in how much weight I use, number one, and how much I push myself, number two. That's why I'm very adamant about understanding the muscle group that I'm working and muscles, period, prior to doing any kind of workout or any kind of exercises, to make sure that it's not going to hurt or pinch a nerve, or if I'm not going to be able to walk for, an undisclosed amount of time because my back typically does hurt. So these are all things you have to be mindful of. Also, I played baseball when I was younger, so my rotator cuff on the right side is a little bit more worn than most. So that's another thing that I look out for, which is why certain exercises I don't do, and some even like the upright row that aren't, a natural motion. If you are familiar with the exercise, you can do, which is why I can do this exercise. We're going to finish this one out. It's the last set. You can see I'm starting to shake a little bit, and I'm also bending my knees on the way down. That's just to break the weight. I don't want to just drop the weight down and let it bang against my thigh or anything. So I give a bend as kind of like a spring action to counter the weight of the weights, even though they're not that heavy. But at this point, like, my arms are failing, so I want to make sure I'm not just gonna, do anything stupid. So the next exercise is going to be something you can do standing upright. You don't have to do it the way that I'm doing it here. This is an incline side lateral raise. You're going to have to lower whatever the weight is at least in half to do this one, especially if you're going to follow up with either the superset like I've done it, or if you're going to just do it straight up the way I mentioned before, where you do the first exercise and then you do the upright raises and then you do this one. So this would be your third set. At this point, you should only be doing 3 sets. So you're going to drop down what you were doing. So the first 2 should be 5 sets at 12, or 5 sets at whatever you burn out at. You don't necessarily have to do 12. You'll see a lot of standard places and magazines. They go, 3 sets of 6 and 3 sets of 8, 3 sets of 12, 3 sets of 50. Listen, it is whatever you feel comfortable enough doing and burning out your muscle. Understand the muscle group. I can't stress that enough. Understand the muscle group that you're working with. If you're working with biceps, a lot of people, think that doing 300-pound curls is the way to get your biceps huge. No, it's a small muscle, and the less weight that you use, for me, at least for me, the larger my biceps grow. And that's just a standard thing. It's been that way since I started working out. I was 16. I always found that lowering the amount of weight and concentrating on curls and curling, whether it's a straight bar or easy bar, is 10 times better with less weight than 10 times harder with more weight. Your wrists hurt with more weight. You have to wear more support. You have to be way more conscious of throwing your back out while picking up the weight, because you're supposed to be using just your arms. There's a lot of things that you need to be wary of, but it's not about how much weight you're lifting. It's about how well you're lifting it, and it being the weight. So always be wary of that. Be cautious. Be mindful of the muscle. I don't know if anybody says that. I don't really. I watch some workout exercise videos to sometimes get ideas and to see what else I can be doing differently and to learn more or less. But for me, I find understanding the muscle that I'm working on, whether it's just holding the muscle, hold the muscle. That's all you got to do. Hold it while you're doing an exercise with one hand. Twist your wrist out. Move your shoulder a little further back where it's still comfortable. In a situation like this, go a little further than maybe suggested and see how it feels. Move your shoulder forward a little bit. Move your shoulder back a little bit in doing the exercise. Do what feels comfortable for you to the point where you can target the muscle effectively. If you're effectively targeting the muscle, then you can lift 2.5 pounds, as long as it's done right and to the point where you're burning the muscle out, so you can conjoin exercises like I do here. The superset works fantastic. You can use less weight with double impact of the exercise, whether it's the major muscle working with the minor, supersetted with the minor muscle becoming the major point of the exercise, meaning You can do a chest exercise, say on a bench or push up, and then switch to a dip. So on the bench, your major muscle is your chest, is your whole chest. Your minor are your triceps, because your triceps are somewhat pushing up on the bar or pushing up on your body when you're doing a push up. Now, if you do a dip, the major muscle becomes your tricep because you're using all of your arms to push yourself up, and the chest becomes the minor. Now, that's a superset. Now, if you do that in your house and you do 15 of those back to back, 15 push ups and 15 dips, I guarantee you by the third set, you're going to be in a world of pain. Good pain. I view workout pain as good pain. But let's get back to the lateral raises here. So the lateral raises, I switched over to the bag just to show you that I used less weight, and I struggled with it because I'm doing controlled movements, nice and slow, nice and steady. Control the muscle, control the focus on the muscle. Make sure you're doing the exercise correctly. It's worth way more for your body than just throwing weight around. I'll stress this all the time, and if I continue to do more of these because people want to watch them, like, trust me, that is the one thing that I stress the most. Even this exercise here, it's a side lateral raise, supposed to be less weight. I'm using the bands on this. I switch between the bands and the bag, which has the water in it, just to show you that you can use any variation of this, and you can stand upright. The only reason why I like the incline, one, I have a bench in the house, so it's perfectly fine, and two, you get to overextend on that muscle group, so you get a little further stretch, and you'll see I hold it from time to time on the way down because I want to feel that extra burn. It's just a little bit easier on the incline. I feel like it targets a little bit more for you, but you can do it upright, just standing straight and doing it as well. It's almost the same. This is probably a little bit better, but upright works too, especially if you're supersetting and you're following up with this side lateral raise. So the next muscle group that I want to work is the rear delt. It's a small little muscle that you'll work out. It helps round out the shoulder, gives you a certain look from the side profile, also builds out your back just a little bit, but it's a necessary muscle to work out, and I usually do it when I'm doing shoulders. I'm going to grab the water bottle to show you that you can use it to work out this muscle, and then what I'll do is I'll point out the specific muscle group that I'm trying to expose by doing this exercise. It's very small and it's very focused, but it's a specific, very specific motion that you only need to extend enough to hit this muscle right here. Small little area, and it gets tight very easily. Now you can use any chair for this. Just make sure, you'll see here I move my mat up because the bench will slide based on the floor. So if you have a wood floor or anything like that, make sure whatever you're using to do this exercise, because you're so far off the edge, that you have something supporting it. Now when I start the exercise, you'll see there's not like a very wide range of motion here. I'm very specific and deliberate with my movement, and I don't want to use too much of my back because then I'd be working out back. I don't want to use too much of my tricep to pull the weight up. All I want to do is focus right on the back of the shoulder. And after I'm done with this first set, which I'm going to do extra of, by the way. So it's not a strong muscle, but I also make sure that I feel a burn in every exercise that I do. I've been taking quite a few breaks because I know I'm shooting this video and I want to get the exercises done correctly. So I have a little bit more energy than I probably should at this point. But you want to feel the burn in everything that you do. So if you get to 12 and it's not burning and you're on your first set, you can either choose to up your weight or do more reps. Those are your two options at this point. And also you want to make sure that if you're at 12 reps and you're working on a muscle group and you're not sure if you're hitting that muscle group or not, do another 12 with that same weight. And if you're using two hands like I'm doing here, drop one hand off and take the hand that's free and put it on the muscle that you are trying to target. So that way when you check your motion, you can see that the muscle is receiving blood. That's what the pump is. And the more blood it receives, obviously the more swollen it gets and the more targeted it is. So if you are doing this exercise, when you hit your peak, which is where the elbows get the highest, then you should feel a tightness in that muscle because that's where your focus energy is going. If you're not feeling that in that specific muscle group, whether it's your bicep, your tricep, your quads, your abs, your chest, then you're doing the exercise incorrectly. And maybe you should switch the exercise to something that makes you feel more comfortable. If you want to stick with an exercise like this one, which I feel is a pretty standard one, there are different ways to do this exercise. You can do it with cables, bent over. You can do it one hand with a cable attached to a door or a band attached to a door and just bring your arm out the other. I can do it in another video, but anyway, the goal here is to make sure that you're hitting the muscle correctly. And if you want to use this exercise, like I was saying before, you just have to put your hand on the muscle and use one hand. Feel the muscle out. Make sure it's being addressed. I think I did 3 sets of these, so after these sets are done, I'm going to move into chest. I've done a fairly good job of burning my shoulders out at this moment. This is also my second time doing this exercise today. I did it in the morning, and what I did was sat down to edit the first video I made like this, and it just didn't look good, so I was like, I have to shoot it again. So I sat down at this point to do it again, so I got a double impact. So at this point, I move into chest. Moving into chest, I like doing chest. Chest is probably my favorite workout, next to triceps. Chest and tris are my favorite. Shoulders are surely becoming one of my favorite exercises or body parts to work out, but chest has always been my first love, so I like doing chest. It doesn't mean that I'm good at it. It just means that I like working out chest, so I know a lot of exercises for the chest. My main focus when I work out, I look for a specific shape for myself. I like my upper chest to be larger than the bottom part of my chest, or at least equal to the bottom part of my chest, so I have a nice shelf is what they call it. So your shoulders and your upper chest are a big focused when you work out for that look. Rounded shoulders, a little bit larger on the back, puffy traps, and a bigger chest area for shelf. Your shirts look better, everything fits a little different, and I also don't like working on my stomach, so if the chest is larger, then it kind of takes away from the idea of the stomach, because I still like to eat. But outside of that, what I'm doing here is a very focused exercise. Because I work chest so much, it takes a little bit of time to activate the muscle. By activate the muscle, I mean get the blood flowing into it, so I'm getting a good pump in my exercise. So I actually overexert myself in this particular warm-up, so to speak. So typically I would do the incline press where I hold one arm up and then do the exercise with one arm continually going up and down, which you saw a couple of seconds ago, which I'll do again right now. So as I start to burn out the chest, I'll finish off with 6 reps, but typically I'll only do one set of this. I'll do 12, keep one arm up, and then I'll do 12 and then switch, and I'll do one arm up and then another 12 with the other hand, and then I'll take a break. For some strange reason, I just decided to go all the way through on this one until I couldn't feel my chest. So it was a good warm up, but kind of defeatist for this particular video. In any case, that is a great exercise to do to start off. I already know my chest is starting to feel burnt out because it's my second time doing this exercise today. So I'm going to switch over to my push-ups. The push-ups, I'm just going to show you the variations of push-ups that you can be doing. Typically, or what I did in the morning was I did my shoulder workout and then I did 100 push-ups after that. In this variation, again, you can see there's different ways to do your push-ups. I like to focus, like I said, on the upper part of my chest, so a good incline on your push-up will help you do that, and your hand placement is crucial. Now, if you use the weights like I'm using here, you can angle the weights to be wherever you want, and they won't move. So that little turned in section there, if you stick your hand straight out and you make just a stop, you put both hands in front of you and make a stop. I'll show you this movement at the end, or actually I'll cut it in right now. Okay, so like I was saying, with that, the way I have those weights set up right now, they're pushed inward. So if you push inward like I'm doing here and you keep your hands close to the center, you get a different burn or a different push on the muscle. So you're working different parts of your chest because it's a large muscle, depending on where you place your hands. Now, what you want to do is focus on what you think you need the most work in. Standard push-ups will work perfectly fine. If you do 100 push-ups a day for 1 month, you will see a change in your chest. Now, if you want to focus on certain parts of your chest, this is a great way to understand how your chest works. Just stick your hands out, both, right? And then you move it from left to right in a mirror, and you can see the muscle moving and growing from certain perspectives. So the tighter your grip, the more focused on the upper and center part of your chest. The wider your grip, the more lower towards midsection of the chest gets worked out when you do a push-up or you do a bench press. So that's an easy way to understand how the chest works and why we do different variations of push-ups, from different heights with your feet to different heights with your hand and your body, and different placements with your hands and your shoulders. Now, in respect to your shoulders, you want to be super, super cautious. The next one I'm going to do is a little bit wider. This will be by hand, and I'll show you a little bit of a variation with the hands. What I do here is I use my hands and my thumbs in basically what I just showed you, my hands straight out, and I put my thumbs next to each other so I know that my hands are even. I don't want my shoulders to be one further up or further down than the other, because that'll put strain on said shoulder. And before your first set of push-ups is over, you might feel a strain or a pull or a pop. So you want to be cautious and make sure that your hands are even when doing your push-ups. Whether you're doing close grip, whether you're doing wide grip, no matter what you're doing, make sure your hands are evenly placed, or you will put strain on certain parts of your shoulder. You don't want to. So this is a little bit closer of a grip. You can see the tricep kind of flex a little bit. It's perfectly fine. What you want to be clear on when you're doing your push-ups is that your chest is getting a good pump. So that means when you do your push-ups, start like this. Go on your knees, drop down to your push-up formation, your hands wide, they're even, they're great, and then do a practice push-up. Do a couple of practice push-ups in this form. They say this is how girls do push-ups. I don't care who does push-ups like this. If you want to learn how to do the correct way, or how to pump the correct part of your chest, I would suggest practicing with not doing a push-up, but doing it with your knees on the mat, and then finding the right placement and understanding that having that placement pushes this part or pumps this part of your chest. It's not just drop down on the floor and give me 20. It's drop down, give me 25, and give me 25 that are working on the lower cut of your chest or the upper part of your chest, depending on what needs work. A lot of people have a lot of bottom chest and no upper chest. Work on it. This is a good way to do that. Another way to do push-ups is the way that I'm doing them right now, with not your feet crossed across the back, but a little bit less stability. You're using 2 feet to kind of reach out, and it makes sense. So I like to cross my foot across the back, but most people will find it comfortable. Just find a comfortable way to do a push-up, whether it's a foot crossed across the back, a whatever, 2 feet, feet up on a chair, well, whatever works for you. But you have to find that comfortable medium that works when you're working out, and always, always, always manipulate the muscle. Make sure that you find the muscle that you're working on in your exercise before you decide to exert yourself. If you guys want to see more videos like this, please let me know. I'm just going through the motions here. After the end of the workout, it's just easy to kind of show the growth because the muscles are all swollen. You can see the exact shape that I'm looking for here, a little bit rounded, a little pop on the back of the shoulders, a short muscle, but we worked on it. Thumbs up are always appreciated. And again, if you want to see more of these, let me know.